as it was requested by a good amount of you guys in the comments section, and coming off the success that our last draft pick video has done so far, once again, thank you guys and keep it up for all these future videos, everyone's favorite endangered insect is the topic of today's video. Yes, I'm from Philly, so I'm sorry Flyers guys, it's a Pittsburgh themed video. I have to appease to them or else the 16,000 days chance won't stop echoing in my head. All joking aside, I've mentioned the Hornets twice so far in multiple videos, as you guys know, where they drafted Gary Beatty with the last pick of the 1965 NHL draft, with him being the only player ever selected by a non-NHL team, and when the Hershey Bears defeated the Hornets in the 1946 Calder Cup Finals. But in order to get to the root of this team's history, we have to go all the way back to the 1920s. In 1926, there was a minor pro hockey league that operated known as the Canadian Professional Hockey League. The league only consisted of 5 teams during that time period, but would consistently expand with each passing year until its eventual extinction in 1930. One of those new expanding teams were known as the Detroit Olympics, who made a quick impact on the league, finishing their regular seasons in second in 1928 and first in 1929. However, they would not become champions in this league, falling in the finals to the Windsor Bulldogs in 1929. Due to financial issues with almost half the teams in the league, as well as additional transfers of players and team names, Detroit soon found themselves a part of the International Hockey League, the early forerunner to the now AHL from 1929 to 1936. Now, just because this team would soon become the Pittsburgh Hornets in a couple more years, that didn't mean that there wasn't a hockey team already playing in Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Yellow Jackets, founded in 1915, played in a league known as the United States Amateur Hockey Association starting in 1920. While the league only lasted 10 total years, the Yellow Jackets won back-to-back USAHA championships in 1924 and 1925 before the league ended up folding due to new leagues being formed and fluctuating attendance numbers for certain teams. This current Yellow Jackets team turned into the Pittsburgh Pirates professional NHL team after being purchased by an attorney, but were soon moved cross-state to Philadelphia and became the Quakers thanks in part to the stock market crash. As a result, Pittsburgh was left without a hockey team for an entire year. The Yellow Jackets minor league team would reassemble in 1930 after their original owner obtained the rights back and would play in 1931 in the International Hockey League. The Olympics and Yellow Jackets would remain separate teams all the way up until 1936, when the Detroit Olympics became the IHL champions. John Harris, a theater chain owner who purchased the Yellow Jackets 4 years prior from the original owner, ended up purchasing the Detroit Olympics as well. This team was then moved to Pittsburgh and, along with some members of the Yellow Jackets team, was renamed into the Pittsburgh Hornets. The Hornets would begin their first season in the newly formed International American Hockey League. Once again, it's just another off branch of the IHL and the soon-to-be AHL. I'm not going to go into grave detail of how these leagues were formed because it's pretty complicated for even me to understand it all. The Hornets also became affiliated with the NHL's Detroit Red Wings and became their minor league team, but they still had a few issues to deal with. The team's identity, most specifically in terms of their jerseys, was up in the air because of the two-team combination. They ended up going with old wool jerseys that were used by the Olympics team and kept the red and white color scheme all the way until 1951, when they switched to the black and gold, but then reverted back to the red and white again 10 years later. The Hornets would win their first game in franchise history over the Cleveland Falcons 4-2, but the franchise would soon go on a roller coaster ride throughout the 30s and 40s. The Hornets had multiple players set AHL records while the team would have their share of team records, but they still weren't able to capture the Calder Cup as they failed on 3 separate occasions against the Providence Reds, Hershey Bears, and Cleveland Barons. The struggles would only continue as they even lost their best and the AHL's best goaltender at the time, Baz Bastian, after he lost his right eye after being struck by a puck in a preseason game. His replacement, Gil Mayer, though, would pick up where Bastian left off and helped backstop the Hornets all the way to their first Calder Cup victory in 1952. After falling in the Calder Cup for the 4th time the following year, the Hornets would once again recapture the championship in the 1954-55 season. Unfortunately, after the conclusion of this season, the Hornets would go into hibernation, if you will, for almost 5 years while their home arena, Duquesne Gardens, was demolished as a result of an urban renewal project. Players from the Hornets team would scatter across the AHL, move up to the NHL, and retire from hockey altogether. The Hornets would return in 1961 to the AHL upon the completion of their new arena, the Civic Arena. Things changed over those 5 years as Pittsburgh became the worst team in the league, and it wasn't even close, only putting up 10 wins and 22 total points. The following season was the same result. They doubled their win total, but they also had a winless streak which saw them go 0-22-1. The Hornets would soon put the struggles behind them and became real contenders in the AHL again, and were primed to make another run at the Calder Cup after obtaining better players, once being re-affiliated with the Red Wings once again. They were affiliated with the Maple Leafs for a decent period of time. However, just as this Hornets team was moving in the right direction, negotiations were ongoing in the NHL to begin the expansion process, and were looking to add a total of 6 teams, 2 from each region of North America. It took a state senator, his former classmate, and the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers to help convince the NHL to bring a team back to Pittsburgh, but it worked. In 1966, the city of Pittsburgh was granted an NHL franchise. Like most recent NHL expansion teams, the 6 new teams had to pay $2.5 million to the NHL for their teams, but Pittsburgh also had to expend more money to increase the size of their arena. In order to recuperate for some of the city's losses and to make way for the bigger NHL team, the Pittsburgh Hornets had to be terminated. They were able to play one final season in 1967, and they made sure to make it count. They finished their final season with a record of 41-21-10 for first place in their division, and would make it all the way to the Calder Cup. They would avoid losing in the finals for a 5th time and capture their 3rd Calder Cup championship in the final season of their franchise. Through all the ups and downs this franchise had gone through, the lasting memory of the Pittsburgh Hornets will always be them going out on top as champions. Then most of you guys pretty much know how the newly formed Penguins franchise progressed. Struggled throughout most of the 70s and 80s. Mario Lemieux comes around. They win a couple Stanley Cups, avoid bankruptcy, stay semi-competitive, struggle again, Crosby comes around, and then a mini dynasty is established. So there you guys have it, an overview of how the Pittsburgh Hornets team was established and their on-ice performance. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like down below, and if you have another team suggestion for a video like this in the future, feel free to leave that comment down below as well. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.